Hello students, welcome to Mechanical E-Learning. Today we'll be discussing about summer air conditioning system. So let's take an example of hot and humid climate. So in hot and humid climate, uh, the outside temperature is hot, means high, so we need to cool it down. And similarly, it is humid, that means it has high humidity, so we need to uh, reduce the humidity. So the psychromatic process to be followed will be cooling and dehumidification process. Let's take the basic diagram for the summer air conditioning system. So this is the room where where the conditioned air should be sent, and here the air leaving from this conditioned room, some portion of the air will be adjusted to the atmosphere, and some portion of the air will be used as the recirculated air. This recirculated air will mix with some portion of the outside air, and together they will go through the cooler. This cooler might be evaporator coil of the vapor compression refrigeration system, and when this air will pass through the cooler, then what will happen? Its temperature will decrease, and simultaneously its dehumidification occurs. So this cooled and dehumidified air will supply to the room again. So let's discuss it briefly. Uh, Here, it is the damper. So damper will regulate the volume flow rate of the air, and here outside air will enter through the damper, and here the recirculated air will mix with the outside air, and together they will pass through that filter. The dust particle and pollutants will be removed, and the air then pass through the cooling coil. In cooling coil, its cooling process will follow. Then some moisture will also condense here. The condensed moisture, that means the water, will be collected here at the sump. Then we can also add one perforated membrane. Its function is to remove additional moisture in the from the air, and this moisture removed will be collected at the sump as a water. Then this air will be cooled and dehumidified simultaneously. And here we have to know that we have to understand that this cooling coil temperature will be at the dew point temperature of the outside, below the dew point temperature of the outside air. Dehumidified, and through this fan, this cool and dehumidified air will be sent to the conditioned space. Now let's discuss about why we are heating it here. So let's say our comfort temperature, we are setting it as 25 degrees Celsius. And this heating coil will be set at 25 degrees Celsius. Here in the cooling coil, what we are doing, we are reducing this temperature to suppose 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. And we cannot directly put this 4 to 5 degrees Celsius air to the conditioned space. So in order to increase the temperature, what we are placing a heating coil here. So in heating coil, the heating coil temperature will be set as per the requirement of the occupant. Let's discuss it in another way. There is a sensible heat factor for air conditioning system, and we know the sensible heat factor. It is the ratio of sensible heat to the total heat. The total heat might be the total heat is the sensible heat plus the latent heat. Here, if the humidity is high, so what will happen? Maximum of moisture is removed here. So that means latent heat load is increased. If the latent heat load will increase, so sensible heat factor will decrease. Okay. So to increase the sensible heat factor to the prefixed value, what we will have to do is to increase the sensible heat. So here in heating coil, we are only increasing the sensible heat of the entering air. Okay. So then another question is why we are using the recirculated air. The recirculated air because to reduce the energy consumption at the cooling coil. Then the question will be why outside air? Then outside air is because um, the oxygen amount in recirculated air will be low as it has already been used by the occupants present in the conditioned space. Also, the CO2 amount will also increase. Okay. Uh, so for that, we are adding some portion of the outside air here. Okay. This is not the only reason why we are using outside air. Also, uh, if we keep recirculating this air again and again, so there will be a staleness in the conditioned space. So for the freshen up of the conditioned space, we are adding the outside air here. So it is all about your hot and humid condition. So let's say for a climatic condition such as hot and dry climatic conditions. So what we need to do? So it is hot, that means of course we have to cool it down. Then dry, that means we have to add some moisture to it. So the psychromatic process to follow will be cooling and humidification process. So for that we are adding one air washer here. So air washer will be added somewhere here, and perforated membrane can be avoided. So what is the function of air washer? It has number of nozzles which will spray cooling water to the air coming out from the cooling coil. Okay, so you can also say this is a method of evaporative cooling. So when this cool water will spray at the air coming out of the cooling coil, this humidity will increase, and temperature has already been decreased to the cooling coil. So this air will pass through the heating coil, and then through fan it will be circulated to the conditioned space. Okay, so this is all about your summer air conditioning system.